Chef Anthony here at Dawn's Appliances. Talking about ribs today. We are cooking them in the oven. I have them all prepped up and ready to go. Let's go through a couple steps before we put them in this signature kitchen suite oven. Ready to roll. I got my ribs cleaned up, prepped up. They're on a nice roasting rack, so we have the air above it. Nice blue rack right here. We're gonna go and use the back. We already removed the membrane on this, guy, so it's ready to roll. We're gonna add a little bit of Dijon. I'm probably thinking 3 tablespoons right here. I'm just gonna mix it in with my hand, and I wanna coat the back of this. The reason why we do the back first is we wanna get that presentation side to leave to the very end, so it looks nice, and that's really where we get our bark and that great color from, right? So I have a bunch of Kansas City rub. You guys can use any barbecue rub you want, anything you like. I'm gonna spread this nice and evenly across it, just to coat it. And this will really lock in a lot of that flavor. Make sure you get the edges too by the bones. All right. The all-important flip. Give it the flip. Woohoo! Now this is our presentation side, the top side I like to call it. We're gonna put another 3 tablespoons of Dijon, but you can use any mustard you want. It really helps add a crust and adhere, especially when we're doing it in the oven on convection roast. Speaking of that, if you want to jump out of this and get your oven preheated around 300, that's what we're going to cook these on, about 300 on convection roast. And it's probably going to take between 2 and 3 hours depending on how big your rack of ribs are and, you know, how do you like it. I like mine just tender enough that are on the bone but not falling off the bone. I don't like, a lot of people like them really tender and overcooked. I just like that really, that nice bark, that flavor and that give. I feel like that's the perfect rib. Okay, back to rib land. I am going to add another, I'll probably say it's a 1/4 cup on top here, just to coat it nice and even, depending on, like you said, the size and rack of your ribs. Don't forget the very end. That's my favorite part to eat, so I make sure I put a lot of season on that. Being that we are doing them in the oven, you know, it's going to be a dry heat cooking. I'm going to add a nice cup of water to the bottom of this tray. It'll do 2 things. It'll make cleanup and breeze, which I love, but it will add a little bit of steam and moisture up to the ribs, especially on the bones. It'll really make them pull off a little bit. And you'll see just a hint of, you know, good steam and good quality, okay? So like I said, we're on this signature kitchen suite, the 48-inch range. We're on the dual fuel, and we're gonna put this at convection roast for 300 degrees. In convection roast, we're gonna see the broiler element browning on top. So we're really gonna crust these ribs while the bake element comes to our aid at the very bottom. It's gonna help those bottom bones that are tougher, and that convection fan is gonna fly that air around to make sure we get an amazing rack of ribs from left to right, front and back, edge to edge. So without further ado, let's jump right into the oven. All right, we're gonna go in the oven about 2 to 3 hours, depending on the time. Put this in the middle rack, ready to roll. So excited, ribs are out of the oven. We did about 3 hours on this, just gave it that extra time to give it that crisp and that bark and that pull away from the bones. This is everything we've all dreamed of in ribland. And let's dissect this, but the convection cooking is the key, the roast. Look at the browning on the heavy point all the way to the thin point. Look at that, even caramelization. Let's flip it to the back. That's what we want to see too. That's just perfect. Best way to do this, I mean, we can actually slice these right down. That's a perfect rib. Wow. Great meat, great juice. Everybody wants to do this. Everyone wants to press and see the juice that comes out. But that is stellar. Only one way to serve these. Let's stack them up. Very nice. Great, great look. Can't say enough good things about this. We're gonna drizzle a little bit of our homemade Q sauce on it. I just wanna check this recipe out too. If you didn't already, this glaze makes these ribs. And we're gonna finish it with a little bit of the barbecue rub. I don't wanna even mess that up. I'm gonna eat a piece of this right off here. This is how the chefs do it. This is always the best piece. Convection roast, 3 hours. Ribs done right. It's tender, flavorful. Most importantly, that falls off the bone in a heartbeat. Well, hope you enjoy this. I'm going to try not to eat a rack of ribs in the process. So enjoy. Thank you so much, everyone.